Hello and welcome back. Last time I talked about PlayStation packaging, somewhat literally. But now I will take you deeper, explore further. I will give you an inside look. This is PlayStation packaging, another case study. This is my collection of PlayStation games, as it exists in August 2023. I have my own sorting method, as you can see. I put Mega Man games first, because that's my favorite series here, then keeping with the Capcom colors leading into Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, then Parasite Eve as the first of the Square games, not because it's better than Final Fantasy, which is my favorite Square series, but because it's a horror game like Dino Crisis next to it. Then Xenogears and Athena because they're both double cases, then the Human games, the Konami and Tokimeki Memorial games, and the rest. With PS2 it begins again with Mega Man, leading to Resident Evil and Capcom, which ends at Clock Tower 3, which starts a series of black spines, which had to end with Kenkabancho 1, because Kenkabancho 2 is white, and they have to be next to each other, right? Simple Series games, the Konami games with blue text next to each other, more white spines with the Room Manias leading into the colorful and IREM spines, leading to the final one, which is Face Paradox, which gets the ugliest spine award coincidentally. I can barely read the dark yellow text on that dark grey background. How about you? You can see a similar thought process in practice with PS3, PS4 and PSP after that. I like my shelf to look sorted, and I don't like it looking all jumbled, as you can see when I change from my system to alphabetical. Or Japanese alphabetical. No thank you. While I'm on the topic of spines, here are some that warrants a mention. Namco games on PlayStation have a purple PlayStation field instead of black. But I only have Tekken 3. Company text on the spine isn't very consistent, only some of Squaresoft's games have it, and it's the same with Human. With PS2 I have to say I like the IREM spines, but it didn't last thanks to the 0 ratings. It's very annoying to me how Shinjuku no Okami has the text in the middle of the spine instead of aligned near the top like all the others. Then I'd also like to mention, which is kind of a throwback to an earlier video of mine, but sometimes the genre is listed on the spine. Michigan is Immoral Adventure, Kenkabancho Tsuppari Action Adventure, Samurai Western is Sword vs. Gun, and then there's the odd Capcom naming conventions. Resident Evil is of course survival horror, as are Dino Crisis and Clock Tower 3, right? Well no, those are panic horror and horror adventure, didn't you know? With the boring / clean looking European PS2 games, my gripes with the spines are first Burnout 3, which has that netplay icon there on the spine. Tony Hawk's Underground, on the other hand, had the sense to not have it. Then the British and Australian GTAs I have, which put the 18 rating on the spine, a dumb tradition that carried on to the PS3. Before we head inside, I'd like to mention one thing that I forgot last time, and that's how PS2 and PS3 cases sometimes vary slightly at the opening. Nothing exciting, but there it is. PlayStation 1. One difference between Japanese and Western games were the discs. I can only speak as a European, but most European discs that I'm aware of just kind of had a sticker on the CD with whatever artwork on, whereas the Japanese discs were printed in a different way, which almost always would have some parts be just transparent, disc colored, nothing, or however I should put that. This will be even more apparent with PS2, but for now these are some of my favorite disc designs on the PS1. Mega Man Battle and Chase is nice, as it's a tire / wheel. I like the simplicity of Snatcher. Vagrant Story is nice for being one of those with little on. Miserna Falls is just a cover in black and white, but it is a nice cover, so it is a nice disc. But I think my nice disc award in general will go to Hard Edge, or TRAG as it's known in America. On the other end of the spectrum, well I suppose my European Platinum copy of Chase the Express is the worst, but all Platinum releases were like this as far as I know. Very dull. Many discs don't particularly jump out at me. Some are kind of mediocre like the Resident Evil games, Ergaze, or the Final Fantasy games, which are just okay. I suppose I'll give the weak disc award to Bakuso Dekotora Densetsu. It's too grey. Maybe it'll share the title with Resident Evil Director's Cut. I don't have this one, but UFO A Day in the Life is a cool disc as it looks like a CDR that someone wrote on. The PS1 had a variety of different case types, as you know, and the regular type sometimes had a transparent inside, which publishers could take advantage of. Some, like Mega Man X5, X6 and Hard Edge, have information. Honestly, that could just as easily have been in the manual. Mega Man Legends 1 and 2 had maps that matched the disc designs, very nice. Pocket Dungeon had credits. Tekken 3 had one of those character relation charts that Japanese people seem to enjoy. and some just put something there. Well, it's better than nothing. Special mention to the Pocket Station game Paka, or Pequa, or however you say that. It has the character with a quote of "Games are 1 hour per day. Paka is 24 hours per day." The first part of which is a saying from Takahashi Meijin. When it comes to manuals, I won't mention Mega Man 8 or X3 because I don't have the manuals to those games, but I will mention others. Paka, that I mentioned a few seconds ago, has a manual which is written mostly in hiragana handwriting. Misadventures of Tron Bon has Servbot Toast on the front. Twilight Syndrome just has a very nice sky. London Seirei Tanteidan and Beavis and Butthead's manuals are just nicely designed in general. And the Yarudora manual Sampagita is the only one I have that opens downward instead of on the right. Snatcher's manual has a lot of extra stuff which is cool, but it's still nowhere close to Gun Parade March, which is as thick as those European manuals, which are like 5 in 1 in multiple languages. The back of it is even made to be opened upside down and from the other side, so it's kind of 2 in 1. Super Adventure Rockman is pretty weak. First, the front page is just a cover again, which I never really like, but it's also short, as is Pocket Dungeon and Twilight Syndrome Saikai. But it's nothing compared to the Sniper. But then again, that one is a Simple Series games, and they're always short, and fold out into one big paper sheet. They also have ads for other games, which feels very cheap. Pocket G-Man, which is also a Pocket Station game, comes with 2 manuals, one quick start and one with more detailed information. Tondemo Crisis has these odd controller designs from around the world. A couple extra things, the back of the Dino Crisis manual looks like a movie poster kind of. That's the side that was out when I picked the game off the shelf in Japan when I was last there, and I thought it was some kind of special edition which I didn't know about. Gundam 79 here doesn't have any screenshots on the back of the case, which I don't like. Actually, it's not the only Gundam game to do that. Oh, and on the back of the Tokimeki Memorial Fujisaki Shiori disc here, that picture, it kinda, sorta looks like she hurt her knee. Alright, time for the PlayStation 2 now, with its uniform case type. No transparency anymore, unlike the PS1 before it and the PlayStations to come, except for Shadow of the Colossus. As I alluded to earlier, while the European discs just sort of have a round sticker on them, the Japanese PS2 discs are more printed onto the disc itself, so to speak, which I'm a bit torn on, to be honest. It certainly has a classy look to it, but on the other hand there's less color because of it. Typically there's blank, grey, black and one other actual color. Sure, the European discs could feel sort of cheap sometimes with the discs that have just a variation of the game cover on it, but still, I like color. There are some exceptions like Rimo Kokoron though, and discs like Resident Evil Code Veronica, Goemon, Shadow of Memories and Bumpy Trot aka Steamboat Chronicles are some of my favorites here. Ico also does well within the limitations. On the other side, Room Mania and Disaster Reports are just too bland and white. And Disaster Report 2 and Sakurasaka Shoubotai are also kinda meh, with the latter looking like someone just kind of spilled some water on it. On the European side, Tony Hawk 3 and 4 are the epitome of bland, with just the logo on a single color pretty much. And extra mention to Tekken 4 and how its disc reminds me of You Don't Know Jack. When it comes to manuals, apart from the Rockstar games there aren't any good European ones. They're all boring black and white affairs. Japan has a lot more to offer on this front. The Rule of Rose manual is very nice and looks like an old book with plenty of scribblings which fits the game. Ico is like a storybook. And some like Goemon or Boku wa Chisai are just nicely done in general. And I like when they're not just the manual to Game X, but are something that fits in universe, like how Seigi no Mikata is about starring in a TV show, so the manual is like a pitch to a network. Or how in Geisha Boy 2 you play as a photographer for a newspaper, and towards the end of its manual there's a newspaper. Some manuals like Kamaitachi no Yoru 2 and Clock Tower 3 have sections dedicated to the staff behind the game, which is really cool to see. Rimo Kokoron is a fold-out like the Simple Series games, but of higher quality. Let's get HD now with the PlayStation 3. You might remember that in the first video I said that I don't like that red 3 that stands out, and yeah, I don't, but now that I have more of those, it's a little better. The vast majority of PS3 cases were transparent, so some games took advantage of that, like Yakuza 3 and 4, Way of the Samurai 3 and 4, Africa, House of the Dead Overkill, and Resident Evil, although that's because it has a reversible cover. The best one has to be Way of the Samurai 3. because they made it sync, so to speak, with the disc art, which is a nice touch. Most PS3 discs are kind of generic, but at least Red Seed's profile, aka Deadly Premonition, has a donut, which makes sense. Way of the Samurai 4 is delightfully weird though. I don't have too much to say about the manuals either, although again the European ones are all black and white, except GTA. At least Africa is pretty nice looking, and Deadly Premonition has some personality. A few, like Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, just have a slip of paper, which sadly was a sign of things to come. Most PlayStation 4 games don't even have manuals, so deciding which was best was easy but boring. It's Natsuhiro High School that wins more or less by default. The same goes for the disc, because it's not the same as the cover or just the logo on black, but it is a low bar here. It really stings with GTA not giving you any real manuals here, considering its history, but that's how it is now. Special mention has to go to Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter, because the cover, the manual slip and disc all share the exact same picture. About all the European games I have the boring legal information stuff on the inside of the cover to save them the paper, but at least some, like GTA 5, Gravity Days, Furaiki 4 and Disaster Report 4, have inside artwork. Earth Defense Force 5 has a reversible cover, but I don't use it because I like the simplicity of the original. Lastly, because I don't have a PS5 or Vita, there's the PSP. I like these boxes, but I don't like how there's only one of these bits to hold the manual down, causing them to be kind of bent in the middle. My PSP games have some nice manuals though, like the Kenkabansho games. Mega Man Powered Up is quite colorful and has many pictures and even a couple of mini-comics. Yakuza Kuroyo 1 and Senritsu no Stratus both came with extras, an invitation letter and a setting note which has high quality paper and some info from the developers, which is nice. The Loco Roco manual is different. It looks like any other at first, but it's actually folded and wider than usual. The actual PSP discs are harder to see kind of because they're encased, but I suppose I like Loco Roco the most, how it has characters going all around. The PSP also has transparent boxes, so several of them have inside artwork. But definitely Disaster Report 3 is my favorite, with how the manual melds into the picture and thereby both main characters are used. Alright, to round off this video I was thinking of talking a bit about cover art, even though that's technically not the box, it's still an integral part of the box also. Yeah, I'm just gonna go through a bunch of cover arts for the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4 and PlayStation Portable. Alright, starting with Africa. This certainly does look like it. Nothing much more to say than that, other than I really do enjoy how the Asian and Korean version is called Hakuna Matata. That's funny. Beverly Hills Cop, this is just basically it's a combination of the covers from the first and second movie, basically mostly the second movie, but still there's no Eddie Murphy on the cover, which is a good choice actually, because the Axel Foley in the actual game does not look a thing like Eddie Murphy, so clearly they didn't have the rights to his likeness. Black, I like this cover because it's black and it has an exploding gun, which is cool. Boku wa Chisai, I like this cover, partly because of the art, and partly because of how it represents the game, because the little guy on the lamp there is the guy you play as, and like the title is I Am Small, which is what you are in the game, and it just looks nice in general, so this is a good one. Kokobo Racing, yes, I say Kokobo because I don't accept the fact that it's supposed to be Chocobo, because you don't choke a bow. Anyway, so Kokobo Racing, the Japanese version looks... you have the checkered flag, so it's like this is like a competition logo sort of. You got the materia there on the side. It's pretty good. This is the European cover, which is the one I actually owned this at one point, and it's pretty it's cheap looking in the sense that it's just the white background, but on the other hand I kind of like it. I definitely like it more than the American version, the typical racing cover, the vehicles racing towards the screen and you have a bunch of characters. It's very ordinary. Clock Tower, although this is the slip cover, He Was Born, What For? This is the actual regular cover, which is pretty nice how it's white and all, and has the fake Jennifer Connelly and the Scissor Man coming after her and stuff. It does lose a bit of points being just a white version of the Clock Tower 2 cover. The Clock Tower 2 anyway, in Europe and America are basically the same. They just, of course, have the PlayStation banner on the other side. I guess the American one takes the metal just because it has the scissors coming over the banner down there, which is a little cooler. Clock Tower 3, it's okay. But the American cover is the same, and then the European cover I think is the best because it has a mansion in the four, and it has the guy coming with a briefcase that reminds me of The Exorcist. I mean, he's still in the other covers, but he's just a small part of it. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion. You got Zack, Cloud, and Sephiroth looking like they're in a boy band. Not a fan of this cover. Red Seed's Profile. This is Deadly Premonition, the Japanese cover, and I actually think this is the best one of the bunch. This is the most typical cover that I've seen the most, the American Xbox 360 cover with the screaming girl with a blindfold and the killer in the background. It reminds me more like something from Saw or something. Dino Crisis, the Japanese cover, which is the same as the European cover, and I don't like either one because I don't get what's supposed to be scary or interesting or whatever about a dinosaur foot with a broken toe. The American cover is a little better because it has the main character, and I do like the scratched on the wall there. Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. There is another release in Japan which I don't have, but this original one is nicer and has a silvery finish. It has artwork instead of CG, which is I prefer. The European version, however, it has CG, although it has really good CG at least. Zero, aka Fatal Frame. Now this one is kind of an interesting case because none of the covers are really great. This is the European cover, and then you have the American cover. The Japanese cover has it's the best looking, but then what's going on? You have the camera, of course, but then I don't know. It doesn't tell me much, but it's not bad at all. The European one, I personally just kind of prefer because it has. You see the photo here in the background, a ghost coming out of the photos, which, of course you take photos of ghosts in the game, so that makes sense. And then in American, it is Fatal Frame, which is the best title, but this is not the best cover, because, you have the ghosts, and you have the photo strip, but the ghosts look pretty ugly, and what is this face? Why is it gray? Why is it upside down? There's a lot of why going on here, but... Gravity Days, aka Gravity Rush, which is the title in the West. Gravity Rush, I prefer the Western cover because this is the one time where the white, I actually prefer having something there instead of just white, even though this is fine too. Yusha 30, aka Half Minute Hero. This is a fine cover with the 8-bit looking artwork. It's the same in Europe. And the American, they have this is what the manual looks like in the Japanese one anyway, here they reimagine the pixel characters into people, into anime looking characters, and I do prefer the pixels, so this one is my least favorite out of the three. Now I have to talk about a cover that I don't actually own, is the Half Minute Hero 2, or I think this is really clever. The original is called Yusha 30, right, like in Yusha 30 seconds, because that's what it's about, Half Minute Hero. The sequel then is not called Yusha 30, well, it is called Yusha 32, but it's called Yusha 30 second as in the second game, 30 seconds, get it? That's really funny to me. Hyoryuki, the PlayStation version remake of Mujinto Monogatari. This one the artwork is quite nice. It's this sunset over the island with the crashed plane. But here is art. It's not artwork, but this is just art. Ico, the Japanese and European, because they're pretty much the same. This is great. Which makes the American version even... This is awful. In comparison anyway. It's still not... On its own, it's not great anyway, but compared with the art that you see here, this is crap. Kyoei Toshi. I like this cover quite a lot. The only problem is that this monster is not a real monster. It does not appear in the game, because in the game there's actually real monsters, so to speak, like Godzilla and Gamera. This is not just imagination or whatever. You have the two characters. They're small, he's big. It's all blue, fire. The city kanji is tilted, which is indicates what's going on in the game. It goes perfectly with the PlayStation case. I think this is pretty great. The Maid Clothes and Machine Gun. I would like if the machine gun had a bit of more role in this cover, but other than that, it's fine. Rockman Dash. I do have to mention how it's Dig Outer's Adventure Story in Halcyon Days, like Dig Outer's Adventure Story in Halcyon Days. So the D is silent, I suppose, but otherwise it should be dashed. Michigan. I actually like this game, but this cover, what is this? It's a smoke-filled room with like a big safe or something? I'm not sure what it's supposed to be. I actually like the European cover more, just because it has the camera. It's from his view and the shadow. It's nice. The only problem really is that you're never on just a highway somewhere in Nowheresville in the actual game, but that's fine. Ka, aka Mr. Mosquito. I do prefer this Japanese version. It's different. And then the European version, which is like the American version, pretty ugly, but also has, you know, the character from the game, just pretty much with this weird yellow thing around it. It's okay, but it looks very bargain bin. Natsuhiro High School with the longest subtitle ever, which I'm not going to read. It's actually kind of a decent cover. When you first look at it, it's just like, oh, anime girls, whatever, or schoolgirls. But then when you think about it, this is a game where you play as a guy who's in the photography club or the school newspaper, and these girls are posing like they're going to be in a photograph. So it actually makes sense. Operator's Side. This was called Lifeline in America, and I prefer the Japanese cover because the colors are quite nice. She has her like second outfit in the game here. Yeah, she has her first outfit here. I think I prefer the first one. Paka or Peikwa, or however you're supposed to say that. It's a Pocket Station game. This is one of those simple arts that I do like. Also, he seems to think that that's a bad touch. Survivor 2, the Japanese version, is pretty good. The European version is not very good, but on the other hand, you have to respect how they took the regular Code Veronica and flipped it with it being a zombie's face with Claire in the eyes. That's a pretty good idea, even though it doesn't quite work for them. As you can see here. Sakurazaka Shobotai, the firefighting game. Quite a nice artwork, so a good one. Samurai Western, pretty good. Pretty good. This is the best one. The American version is the best one. Unfortunately, of course, because it's Atlas, it's really rare and expensive. Wah, wah. Seigi no Mikata. So this floor is, it's got the chords that looks to me like a set, you know. And you have the outfit that the hero wears, so that makes good sense, I think. Shadow of Memories. The Japanese version is the best one. The European is okay, I guess, but it has ugly CGI, and the American is the worst one. I do like the clock, but I don't like the characters, especially him here, because he looks just like he's accusing me of something with that stare. Steambot Chronicles, aka Bumpy Trot. This is the Japanese cover, which is pretty nice with the artwork. You have the European and American. They just show more of it in the America, this is also fine, but it looks a bit bargain bin-y. Out of left field, however, the Korean version is the best. I wish this cover was in all regions. The Tairyo Jigoku, about a schoolgirl and a bunch of bugs, which is very, very apt. The only thing I can say about this one is her hand here. It looks like she's supposed to be holding a gun. It just feels like that way to me, or a knife or something. Tekken 4, this looks pretty nice. Tekken 4 European, also pretty nice. Tekken 4 American, however, I don't like this one. Yakuza, the Japanese version is the best. Although on the other hand, these are very good as well. Yakuza 3 just has Kiryu. Fine, I guess. It's a little too simple, maybe. The Japanese version has him with a cigarette, which is a no-no for the West, I guess. Yakuza 4 is actually good. I like this one better than the Japanese cover, which just has a bunch of characters. 5, again, bunch of characters. Ishin, however, way too many characters. Kenzan, bit too many characters here also. Kiwami does not have too many characters. He only has the characters that actually matter. So that's a point in its favor. Yukiwa no Hana, pretty good. The game is better than cover. And finally, Zombie vs. Kyukusha, aka Zombie Virus. This is a zombie versus ambulance. And it has ambulances, it has a zombie, it does the job. I think that's about all I have to say about PlayStation packaging. I think people tend to focus too much on game boxes, as in the cardboard ones, over cases like these. I definitely think the golden age was the PS1 and PS2, with some creativity left over for PS3 and PSP. PS4 didn't have that much apart from the occasional inside artwork or reversible cover. Here's hoping that the PS5 will get a price drop sometime in the future, and that like with the PS3, Sony will take the opportunity to change the case to another color, not just recycle PS4 ones. This has been PlayStation Packaging, another case study. Thank you for watching.